west coast of the South Island, Gita did less damage than many had feared, but in a series of communities right along the coast, strong winds, heavy swells and storm surges destroyed more coastline. And one of the men evacuated in the Bulla district last night told me he fears that within as little as 5 years, their home and those of their neighbours may be lost to the sea. The region's mayors say coastal erosion isn't just a local problem, it's a looming national crisis.
We were evacuated last night about 7 o'clock into Westport, and we've just got back about an hour ago.
Brent Dyberg is in a place called Hector. 30k north of Westport on State Highway 67, you can't get out without turning back. Beyond them to the north, Karamea, and then the end of the road. But what a road it is.
Spectacular coastline.
That's the district's mayor, Gary Howard. For him, this is one of the country's great stretches of state highway.
You've got the surf, to your left, you've got the palm trees, and then it just rises up to the mountains fairly quick.
The people who live there know what nature does. The Tasman Sea can be a brute. The rain can seem endless. The wind can be a bully. But
we choose to live amongst all this passionate nature, I'm looking up at the bush-covered hills and out to sea. What more do I want?
That's Lynn Stoddard. She was evacuated yesterday, but she didn't stay away for long.
This time round I wasn't scared, and I actually came home. We were evacuated and I sneakily came home, but you better not report that. I might get someone into trouble.
More from Lynn shortly, but I met her via phone at Brent's house, and Brent's not so certain they're going to be able to keep coming back.
It's paradise to us. We don't really want to leave. But we were just discussing before, we've probably given it another 3 to 5 years, and we may have to seriously consider moving.
Because the sea is just eating the ground from underneath you.
Inundating our property. I stepped it out a couple of months ago. We were about 40 metres from the actual where the sea comes in. We're now up to about 35, 36 metres. So in the last storm, on the 1st of February, we lost about 4 metres of coastline.
And all along that stretch of coast, the Tasman Sea is eating the land. And while coasters are tough, the sea simply isn't respectful of that.
28 residents that we took away from their properties late yesterday so that we weren't doing it in the hours of darkness. It really looks to be a continual problem. It's a one-way track. Those properties are going to continually be threatened, sandwiched between the sea and the state highway. What is the answer?
And that's the question. What is? And the bigger question, Mayor Gary Howard says, is who's in charge of finding the answer? Local councils with tiny ratepayer bases in places like Bulla, or central government in that very different world, also known as Wellington?
Some of those tough discussions are going to have to take place. How do we fund it, and where is that going to lie?
As sea levels rise, as climate extremes bring storms and sea surges, Hector and Granity and State Highway 67 will be joined by more and more New Zealand coastal communities.
We've had this house for about 22 years. We've lived here permanently for 11 years.
And so, if you have to go, and forgive such a blunt question, but what would you receive in compensation? Are you insured against the predations of the sea? Is the council talking to you? Is anyone having discussions with you about what happens next?
We have had meetings. Late last year we had several meetings for local people here, and they're still talking about it. No firm decisions have been made.
So Brent watches the sea get closer and wonders what rescue will come. Can the Tasman be kept out? Can their homes be moved back? Will they be bought out and asked to move for good? And then a reminder that these aren't just houses, it's a community.
I'm retired now, and just excuse me, John, 2 seconds. here. We're all right. Sorry, John.
Was that a neighbour coming to check up on you?
That was a neighbour coming to see if we're all right.
That's brilliant. That's what you get in communities like that, right?
Oh, it's a great little community here. Yeah.
Can I talk to the neighbour? What's the neighbour's first name?
Lynn. Lynn. Can you come down here a minute? Would you like to talk to John Campbell? He wants to talk to you.
Hello.
Lynn Stoddard, who sees no sign of meaningful assistance from the outside world when the flooding happens, which it's doing more often.
Who's there? The locals. The local volunteers, the policemen, Greg down the road, the fire brigade volunteers, the Red Cross volunteers, the med centres just down the road. Everybody's there with bells on. Rescue? We look after ourselves in these wee communities still. We have to. That's right, yeah.
But how much can the locals do if the sea keeps coming?
Look at Jackson Bay.
Jackson Bay is more than 400 kilometres drive south of Hector and Westport on the same long, battered stretch of coast. And Bruce Smith, who's mayor of Westland, says the locals there will do what they can.
But there are only 4 people that live in Jackson Bay, and this latest event has taken a big hunk of beachfront out of it.
And if you think that makes Jackson Bay too small to survive, Bruce Smith says, think again. What makes the coast tick? What attracts the visitors who make tourism the entire region's second largest employer is the small communities.
There's a big picture thing here. If we want the tourists to come here, they've got to have something, there's got to be something special. There's got to be a point of difference. And the coast has got significant points of difference, but all of them are about people living in little communities. They are the communities that are going to disappear.
That's the Mayor of Westland, Bruce Smith, and the Mayor of Bullis strongly agree.